Welcome to Extended Deck Techs, a series where I delve just a little bit deeper into the murky waters of 1-minute deck techs. Today, we're going over Arthur Marigold Knight, a 4/5 for 5 with haste that, whenever it and another creature attacks, looks at the top 6 cards of your library and puts a creature onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Now, in theory, you should be bouncing this card to hand at the end step, but we won't be doing that. So, back a long time ago, I had a deck I called Flicker Reanimator. It focused around using cards like Shallow Grave to put cards onto the battlefield from the graveyard for a limited time only. Then it would use cards that allowed us to flicker creatures on the battlefield to reset and unattach it from that effect that would exile at the end step. This allowed for some incredible gameplay where I could go through the initiative 20 times, mill everybody out, steal everyone's permanents, exile, wrath the board over and over and over again, and generally the outcome for my opponent was absurdly negative and nobody enjoyed playing against it. So when I heard there was another commander that could also do this, I had to build it. Starting out where the ramp is mostly normal, there are some synergies like Cartographer's Hawk, a card that is going to enter tapped and attacking, so we already get that combat damage in. Core Cartographer and Solemn, which are ramp on an ETB effect, which you're going to notice is pretty important here. Just talking about Solemn Simulacrum for a second. Do you know how old this card is? This card was printed in Mirrodin and then reprinted in the first ever Commander set. It's been reprinted in like a billion Commander sets after that. 14% of all Commander decks run this card. 14! Thran Dynamo, a card that ostensibly makes considerably more mana, is in 5% of all Commander decks. Now, do I run Thran Dynamo in any decks? Fuck no, that's boring. Do I run Solemn Simulacrum in like 10 Commander decks? Yes. So, going into the Commander, Marigold bounces your creatures at the end step, but that trigger can only happen if the creature is still there. And you know what's a really convenient way to make a creature not still there? Flickering them. If you flicker, Marigold's effect will no longer be tied to the creature, so you won't have to return the card to the hand at the end step. That's why we have 11 blink effects at the creature level. These are cards that we can just pull from the deck off of a lucky Marigold hit whenever we can. Flicker Wisp is useful as a short-term burst, but I prefer to get cards out like Thassa Deep Dwelling or Philia. Cards that give long-term are going to flicker our creatures over and over again. Here are all the flicker effects. The one you want to look out for are Navigator, for the shit Navigator does, and Brago, a card that flickers everything on combat damage. Marigold puts this shit on the battlefield tapped and attacking, meaning it's already going to be hitting for damage like immediately. Also, since Brago flickers everything, you notice that Brago doesn't specify other non-land permanents. Brago flickers itself. You don't even need a secondary flicker for the Brago. You don't have to return Brago to hand. Brago's just like, hey, don't worry, man, I'm chill. I'll just flicker myself. This card is absurd, and honestly, it's the thing we want to hit the most off of Marigold, bar none. Before we get into the flicker targets, I just need to mention Panharmonicon and Elish Norn both double our ETB effects, and getting double of these effects is kind of the difference in like a pretty strong combo piece and winning the game. So I would try to pull one of those out as quickly as possible. Emrakul's Hatcher ramps us. Agent of Treachery technically ramps us if we want to be evil about it. Angel of Serenity and Angel of Ruin are in the deck, but only one lives up to its name. Chancellor of the Forge is a card you thought was just for illiterate Goblin players and Legacy players who hate themselves, but in reality, it's sent to the battlefield effect. Not too bad. Great Whale goes infinite with O Captain, My Captain. Hamlet Goliath is big. Highcliff Felidar and Luminite Primordial are some insane removal, and Moonshaker Cavalry is what happens when you tell wizards that white suck for 10 years, and they assume you mean the magic color and not the player base. The Sphinxes and Lord draw you cards, and Nezahal is weird card draw. Nezahal's in here because it is objectively insane, being Rhystic Study, but better. But it also blanks itself, meaning you don't actually need any outside interference to keep it around off of Marigold, which is very important. Finally, Astral Dragon is dumb. Sure, it can copy a land, but if it copies Panharmonicon and then you flicker it, it makes 12 additional Panharmonicons, and I am unwilling to do the math on the second flicker, but just assume it's a really big number. The other standouts in this deck are Madomi, a card that gets you an extra turn for free off the commander, which is kind of rad, and Port Raiser, which gives us an extra combat for free, which is also kind of rad. The general game plan is as follows. Give an OTB-HJ to any aggressive players before the match. This is going to keep their brain too fogged up to do any kind of accurate threat assessment. Being funny can also help by making yourself unkillable by way of vibes manipulation, but know that that is a hidden tactic that takes years to develop. Either way, you need to make it to turn 5 unscathed, which is tough. We have some ramp to get you there, but don't count on it. About the second or third game with this deck, people are going to start holding up removal, so the moment you go to combat, they go, hold on. Off the first hit, you need a banger. Something like Nezahal to set you up, or Luminite Primordial to shut other players down. If you're me, you can just whip 6 lands right off the top, but probably don't be like me in any circumstances when it comes to life. The next turn's even more key. Now, if we get to attack another turn, hopefully we can pull a bomb. Now it's time to put our entire hand onto the table. We are going to slam flicker effects like our life depends on it, because at this point it probably does. You can clear the board, draw your deck, do whatever you can, just play all of your cards. The end game is probably going to come down to how many cards you can draw. Get an Astral Dragon on a Pan's-Rights-Icon, and clear the table like a fat kid on Thanksgiving. If you want more videos like this to go alongside the TikToks and shorts, let me know by liking, subscribing, and more important than anything else, share this video with friends. Word of mouth is how I'm going to get the most growth here, and I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.